Paralyzed woman left alone at cafe on first date, then a single dad with a little girl walked up. She sat perfectly still at a small cafe table, hands folded tightly in her lap, staring at a phone that hadn't lit up in over 20 minutes. Around her, cups clinked, chairs scraped the floor, and quiet laughter filled the air, but at her table, there was only silence. This was supposed to be her first date in years. Instead, it was turning into a moment she would never forget, for reasons she never expected. Before we begin, take a second to support stories like this. If you enjoy heartfelt, real-life inspired moments, please subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share your thoughts in the comments. This is Heartfelt Moments, and your support helps keep these stories alive. Now, let's begin. Emily was 32 years old and had been paralyzed from the waist down since a car accident in her early 20s. She used a wheelchair, something she had learned to navigate with strength and grace, even when the world wasn't always kind. Dating, however, was different. Dating required vulnerability. And vulnerability had hurt her before. She had met Ryan online. He was charming, thoughtful, and seemed genuinely interested in her as a person, not just her condition. After weeks of messages and late-night conversations, he asked her out to coffee. Emily said yes, even though her hands trembled when she typed the reply. She arrived early to the cafe, choosing a spot by the window where there was space for her wheelchair. She wore a soft blue sweater, her hair neatly styled, makeup done with care. She wanted to feel normal. Confident. Hopeful. At first, the waiting felt normal. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. She checked her phone. Nothing. She sent a short message, "Hey, I'm here," smiling face with smiling eyes. No reply. As more time passed, Emily became painfully aware of her surroundings. A couple across from her shared a pastry. A group of friends laughed loudly near the counter. She wondered if people noticed her sitting alone. She wondered if they assumed what she was starting to fear. 20 minutes turned into 30. Her chest tightened. Her throat burned. She didn't want to cry, not here, not in front of strangers. She told herself maybe something came up. Maybe he was late. But deep down, she knew. She had felt this before. That quiet realization that someone decided not to show up, and didn't even bother to explain. Ryan never came. Emily stared out the window, fighting tears. She thought about how much courage it had taken just to come. How long it had been since she let herself hope. She felt foolish for believing this time would be different. That's when she noticed a man and a little girl standing near the counter. The man looked tired, but kind. He wore a worn jacket and jeans, and his dark hair was slightly messy, like he hadn't had time to fix it. The little girl beside him couldn't have been more than 6 years old. She held his hand tightly and wore a pink jacket with tiny stars on it. They were waiting for their order when the little girl tugged on his sleeve and whispered something. The man leaned down to listen, then glanced over at Emily's table. He hesitated. Emily looked away, suddenly self-conscious. She didn't want pity. She didn't want anyone to feel sorry for her. But a moment later, she heard a gentle voice. "Hi," the man said. "I hope this isn't awkward, but my daughter noticed you were sitting alone. We were wondering, would you like some company?" Emily looked up, surprised. The little girl smiled shyly. "My daddy says coffee is better when you're not lonely," she said. Something in Emily cracked open. She swallowed and managed a small smile. "I'd like that," she said softly. They pulled up a chair. The man introduced himself as Mark. The little girl was Lily. Mark explained, a little awkwardly, that it was just the two of them. He was a single dad, and Lily was his whole world. At first, the conversation was simple. Mark talked about Lily's love for drawing and how she insisted on putting stickers on everything. Lily asked Emily about her wheelchair in a straightforward, innocent way only a child could. Emily answered honestly, without embarrassment. For the first time that day, she felt seen as a person, not a problem. Minutes turned into nearly an hour. They laughed. They shared stories. Lily showed Emily a picture she had drawn on a napkin, 3 stick figures holding hands. "That's us," she said, proudly adding, "and you." Emily felt warmth spread through her chest. The pain of being stood up didn't disappear, but it softened. It no longer defined the moment. When Mark went to pay, Emily reached for her wallet. "You don't have to." "I know," he said gently. "But I want to." Before leaving, Lily hugged Emily carefully. "I'm glad we met you," she said. Emily smiled, her eyes glossy. "Me too." After they left, Emily sat there for a moment longer, absorbing what had just happened. What started as one of her most painful dating experiences had turned into something unexpectedly beautiful. Later that night, she posted about it online, not to shame Ryan, but to share what kindness had done for her that day. The post went viral. Thousands of people commented. Many shared their own stories of small acts that changed everything. Mark never intended to be a hero. Lily just didn't want someone to be lonely. But that simple choice, to notice, to care, to act, meant more than they could ever know. Emily didn't leave the cafe feeling rejected. She left feeling human. Valued. Reminded that kindness still exists, often in the most unexpected moments. And maybe that's the real lesson here. We can't control how others treat us. But we can choose how we treat each other. A small gesture. A few kind words. A moment of courage to step towards someone instead of away. You never know whose day you might change, or whose heart you might heal. So the next time you see someone sitting alone, remember this story. Kindness doesn't have to be big to be powerful. Sometimes, it just takes pulling up a chair,